On today's episode of IT Unplugged, we look at SOCs. No, not that kind of SOCs, but cybersecurity SOCs.
At M2 Technology, we're on a mission to make IT accessible to everyone. Join us on our journey to demystify the ever-evolving world of business technology. Are you ready to get unplugged?
Welcome back to IT Unplugged. I'm Brandon.
I'm Austin.
And Austin, I'm very excited because we're going to talk about SOCs today. Not like the ones on your feet, but maybe people aren't. You got to start out with a bad joke, right? Yeah. But with that being said, CommandLink, the place that you work, and you're the SOC director there. Would you mind telling me just a little bit about yourself and also what's CommandLink?
Yeah, so being the SOC director, it's a fun, challenging role, and we'll get more into what that all entails. But CommandLink is the company I work for. It's a US-based company. They do things like SD-WAN, networking, work with ISPs, and there's a lot more to come, hence why they hired me. But it's more of an experience and an all-in-one platform for companies who really have a lot of locations and need a centralized place to look at everything from their network, their firewalls, and SD-WAN.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. That's really, really helpful. So we try to break things down so people can understand it here. We sell SOC services at M2 Technology, and whenever we sell it to people, like that's the thing that they get stuck on, and they're like, wait, what? Huh? What's going on there? What's a SOC, or why do we need this thing? So, what is a SOC, and why should businesses consider having one or partnering with a place that has a SOC?
Yeah, so a SOC's a team of security experts. They handle your alerts, your events, breaches, things that might just look off. I always refer to it as an anomaly, right? So something that just doesn't look right. If you're in your car and you're like, hey, what's that sound? You go to the mechanic, right? Mm-hmm. So we're there to be a team of experts to look at these events, these security problems that a lot of companies are seeing. And, well, why do I need one? Hey, I'm only a small company, or I'm not, I don't think we have that much security concern. Small companies are actually some of the most vulnerable for security events, and cybersecurity is a big field. It's ever changing, and just to bring in someone and go, can you look at this? It's hard. It's a difficult time. And that team of experts you can rely on to look at the data and find it and then mitigate it. Dealing with the threat before it happens is a lot easier than having an investigation after it happens.
Yeah. And what does SOC stand for? Because some people out there might still be wondering, like, okay, wait, so there's people, they're watching my stuff, but what does it actually stand for?
Yeah, Security Operations Center, right? In IT, we love our acronyms.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Just who we are. So it's the best way to put it. A lot of people go, is it 1,000 people sitting at a computer desk and looking at code? It's usually a team of people, and they're looking at different screens and different alerts and then doing investigations on what they see. Investigations are all over the place. So there's no easy way of putting it, but it is someone behind a screen looking at that data.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a really great service. I know, for M2 Technology, we partner with a SOC that, we can't watch network activity and look for patterns all the time. We can't watch all the endpoints, so it does need to be something that we find a trusted partner for, and it's really saved some of our customers because of that preventative thing. They've stopped something before it's ever happened, and it's just such a great service that if people aren't really doing it, it's not like it's astronomical. It's not like you're paying every single person's wages or something like that. So just for the fraction of the cost, you can get that same protection.
And that's the thing. You want to get it before the threat, right? You can't buy a warranty after something happens. You want it before the threat. A lot of people go, well, we had a breach and now we want a SOC team. That's a lot more difficult. Get it before that breach. Get it before any threats, and you can stop potential breaches. I know it might seem like a daunting cost or something that, should we, shouldn't we? That extra protection, it's worth it, especially when you're talking about something you built as your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, Austin, you've built a SOC from scratch.
I have.
Yeah. So Tell me how that worked a little bit, and what would you tell someone else that's crazy enough to do that?
Yeah, so I've been done it twice more or less now. Building a SOC from scratch is a crazy process. There's so much to it. You have to plan it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? What is the purpose of the SOC? Let's start there. Why are you doing this? Do you want to outsource it? If you want to build it for yourself, what is the end goal of the SOC? So you got to think of the people, the tools, how often do you want your SOC to be managed and monitoring different activities. The other portion of that is the people to me. It's always the biggest thing that people kind of overlook. When you are hiring for a SOC or you're building a SOC, when you hire someone and your earliest people in a SOC need to be people who are builders. So this is something that my CEO talks to me all the time about. You need someone who's going to build. You need someone who is going to not only plan it, but actually take the time to put their hands in and build it. A lot of times in the field of IT and cybersecurity, a lot of people come into systems that are already built. And when you have to build something, you'll usually have someone who plans it. But hey, I've been planning for 3 months, right? You need to start building, and the building is when it gets hard. When you build something, get a team of developers, get who you need, and build it piece by piece, but have an outline and a plan. Your end goal will never look how your outline looked. It just never does, but it looks better almost always. So building a SOC is, what's the goal? Write it out. What do I need to do from start to finish? Step 1, 2, 3, how do we get there? And by the end of it, what do we want accomplished?
Yeah, so that's really interesting, because some of the people that might be, great info by the way, some of the people that might be like listening to this might go, you know, oh, so I got to get some developers and build a SOC for like my company, right? Like, what do you, let's clear that up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Developers are only for if you want to build your own internal product. No, if you want a SOC, you already have security in place, right? Let's say it's Microsoft or any other security technology out there. There's a ton. That SOC is just going to manage those products, right? They're just going to take and ingest it. So if you're building just the SOC portion, the managed security, just go ahead and hire a director first or a lead and have them learn what the process is. And then from there, hire the correct team and let them gain access. And then they'll give you suggestions about what other tools maybe you should bring on board to help assist the SOC.
I love that. And the people part is so just incredibly important, because, I mean, like, I think starting anything, you start small, right? And it's like the people aspect is so much more important when you have a small team, because you need to move fast, you need to be adaptable. And if you only have so many resources, like, you can't have an anchor that you hired that's like not pulling their weight. And that's why it takes so long. I don't want to say it takes so long, but like when it comes to M2 technology, when we're hiring an IT consultant, we look like deep, and we're going all through the process. We're like, you got to be a culture fit. Like, we're not huge yet, like, we're growing, but like, if you bring someone on that isn't a good fit, like, it can drastically slow that process down. So how do you find people in your experience that are a good fit for you and your team?
Finding a person is the most challenging. To give you examples, every time I put out a SOC analyst position, I'll usually get about 1,000 resumes, right? And that's 1,000 who've made it past my pre-screening. So what do I look at when I'm hiring a person? And a lot of people go, well, are you looking for the degree, the master's degree? Are you looking for this experience? I tell people every time, the best hires I've ever had are people who have unique backgrounds. They come from a different skill set. You need to have someone who can work around things and not someone who's just kind of been cookie cutter every time. I'm not saying the certifications and degrees don't matter. Definitely, they help all the more that you can to get into a job. But when I'm looking for someone, when I'm building a SOC or, you know, even establishing the SOC into a second phase where it's becoming bigger, I'm looking for someone who has done more than just the average cybersecurity experience.
Nice. Yeah. What do you think that, like, different background kind of brings to the table? I'm curious, because we'll just stop. I got some other thoughts, but what do you think the different background brings?
So this is how I looked at it. I worked at Geek Squad, right? So I did work at Geek Squad for a short stint. And the reason I did that was to get the end user's experience. Those different backgrounds, like an end user experience or learning how other pieces of a computer work, or even just a job that generally treats you different. It kind of puts you in a different light. That teaches me that you're more well-rounded and you have skills that you can't learn in school. You can't learn by just going into cybersecurity right off the bat. These are skills that are well outside the boundaries.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And to find that, and then someone that's also a builder, you know what I mean, or like wants to innovate with you, that's tough. That's a tough one.
world. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, I don't want to be screaming over 1,000 people.
I enjoy it though, but
okay.
yeah, I mean, you get to talk to people.
Yeah, that is always fun, I suppose. So, speaking of backgrounds, you were in the Navy. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your Navy experience and how that kind of shaped your career in IT, or, you know, at least informed it in some way? And then, you know, got any crazy stories?
Yeah. So in the Navy, I was what was known as a CTR, cryptologic technician, collections. The R used to stand for something else. Now it's collections, so don't ask me why.
One of those acronyms.
Yeah, it's an acronym. We changed it along the way. It didn't change the actual acronym. Fun times. The Navy kind of brought me into the computer world outside of things like gaming and other computer hobbies when I was growing up. In the intelligence world, I was looking at tons of information and having to review it quickly and accurately. And I said, hey, I have a knack for this and I love it.
Yeah.
A lot of things that kind of made it different that really stood out to me was I was on a team of people from all age ranges, all different backgrounds, right? And I was one of one for CTRs. I had probably my best friend in the Navy was on the other side.
Can you tell everybody what a CTR is, though, real quick?
Because it's a military intelligence analyst.
Okay.
That's the best way to put it.
Okay.
It's a cryptologist and military intelligence analyst.
Cryptologist. So you're like breaking code? Like, you know.
There's a lot of things that go along with it, like code and signals and things like that. But obviously the government only lets me say so much about my time in fun times with that. But on this team, you know, I worked for the 4-star Admiral of the Pacific. So it kind of was interesting because we'd have people coming up to the watch floor and they'd be extremely high rank and say, hey, what's going on with this? Or what's happening? And one that will always get me is we had someone come up on the floor. We can't really tell you who. And they were drilling me with questions. And my captain was there, and he was just looking to see if I could answer the question. So I was answering question after question after question. And all of a sudden, he asked me, what was the weather like during this time? And I looked at my captain, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to answer this. And he just looked at me in amazement, like, if you answer this, you win. Like, this is the end. And all of a sudden, I said, sir, let me get back to you on that. And he goes, nah, don't worry about it. I just wanted to see if you would know. And I always remember looking across to my best friend in the Navy and my officer and looking at them, and they just kind of shrugged their shoulders, and we all kind of, it was a good chuckle. It kind of breaks up that military strictness along the way.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm curious, like, so I don't know any of this. I'm not from military service. Like, so a lot of times, you know, like you have someone that's over you that doesn't necessarily understand the ins and outs of what you're actually doing, right?
Yes.
As they get higher up in rank. Is that kind of how, not like talking bad about anything, but I feel like it'd be so hard to manage somebody like, hey, I'm not even going to try to say it. You know what I mean? You're breaking all these codes and doing all this stuff, and I'm going to manage what you're doing and ask you all these like intense questions, but like, do they have that same kind of knowledge? So
the people who are in those positions have that level of knowledge, or they have a broader spectrum of knowledge that can help with that. That kind of goes into the management aspect too. My first officer when I was in the Navy, we called her the ma'am, actually. That was her title. She was wonderful. What she actually did is treated us with that, you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to let you do it. If you have a question, come to me. Incredibly intelligent woman who really kind of pushed that with us. And you could see it while we had different officers. You had the officers who said, I need to know everything, and you had the officers who said, I don't need to know everything, but you know everything about it, so you do it.
Yeah. What did you prefer?
The first one, right? The MAM, where it was you do it, but I'm here to help
Yeah.
when needed. That kind of management, no micromanaging, that management structure, especially in military intelligence and now into cybersecurity, makes a huge difference. The let that person do their job. My boss always told me the best way of my current job, always hire someone smarter than you.
Yeah.
Always hire someone smarter than you.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It's fun being around people that are like smarter
yeah.
than you, or you know what I mean, like that can teach you stuff too. I was just talking to our HR person, and I'm like, it's like great hire. Like I'm learning so much. It's like I'm getting an education. I just get to hang out. You know, it's fun.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You always want to learn something from them. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun.
So speaking about management, you want to be a CISO. So can you explain what that is? And you know, that's a heck of a jump. I don't want to say like a heck of a jump. You're building SOCs, you're doing things, but it's a different kind of role. So what's motivated you to like have that be one of your end goals?
Yeah, so CISO is Chief Information Security Officer. It's one of the C levels, right? When we talk to C levels, COO, CEO, all the fancy C titles. It's a huge jump, right? It's that jump from, you know, you are a manager to now you run things, right? You are making big decisions. So what led me to that was kind of a completely different world. I had ambition. Always had ambition throughout my life, and I always strive to do the best, be the best, or try to get there. But to get to that C level, you can't be the best by pulling someone down. You have to be the best by building yourself up and holding on to people while bringing them up with you. That's kind of a big aspect for me. But I want to get there so I can meet other goals in my life. I want to do more speaking. I want to do more presentations, conferences. I want to start making more of a bigger impact in cybersecurity. And by being a CISO, my voice will be heard more. On top of that, that level of responsibility, I enjoy it. I enjoy hiring people and bringing together a bigger team and being more responsible for a company. So in the end, being a CISO, it's a big goal. It's a huge goal. It's something that's going to take a lot of work, but I'm happy to be there. I was worried when I became a director, hey, can I do this?
Yeah.
I drove into the role really easily. I thought I did a great job. I mean, you never know how well of a job you personally do, but another company hired me to do it, so I feel confident in that aspect. But
validation.
Yeah, right there. I'm doing well, and I got promoted to it before. So, in my opinion, it's just the next goal.
Yeah. I think, like, you know, you don't need me to tell you this, but I think you're like ahead of the curve with that, because there's a lot of people that think being a great individual contributor like should lead to that next thing. You know what I mean? Or like, if I get so good at this, then I got to get that next thing. But like Ryan Hawk has a great book called Welcome to Management, and talks about going from an individual contributor to going into like a management role or leading teams. And you're already doing that with the SOC stuff, but like there's so many people that think I'm the best at, you know, cybersecurity or viewing, like at the SOC, I can pick out the exact things. I'm going like non-technical, right? The exact things that are threats all the time. Like I got the highest pick out rate of things that are happening. Like I should be promoted, but it's a totally different skill set.
It is.
Yeah.
Being a manager is a different world. I've met people who are great analysts and great at their job, but management might not be in their future. Leading people's different. I tell people, yeah, I'm not the smartest in cybersecurity, right? People always assume since you have that title, you're so smart at it, and you do gain knowledge. But I looked at it as more, I can build a better team than I could ever be as an individual.
Yeah, no, that's great. So going back to that SOC stuff a little bit, what's the craziest threat you've ever seen come through the SOC? And you don't have to mention anything.
Yeah,
obviously.
I won't mention any companies or anything like that, but we actually saw a penetration testing tool. So that's a tool that companies use to see what's going on in my environment. Do I have vulnerabilities? What's open? Things like that. Very important tool. But I saw a threat actor, right? We don't use the word hacker anymore. It's threat actor. We saw a threat actor use this tool to find a vulnerability and then exploit it. and do things like ransomware. They downloaded a ton.
And you're watching this happen
And
in
we
real
saw
time?
it. Well, we were brought on after it happened, so they
Oh.
didn't have us yet.
Yeah.
But we were brought on to do a small investigation after it happened. And one of the first questions I got asked was, "Well, if we had your service, would we have been able to stop this?" I said, "Yes."
Yeah.
That's not a question. Yes, and it becomes such a bigger portion, right? These threats are always evolving.
Yeah.
And when it came to using a pen testing tool in order to gain access into someone's system, I said, wow, that's a first. That was actually a first for me, just because I said, yeah, that would work really well, but you don't think about it all the time.
Yeah. So this is like kind of a follow-up question to that, because I'm just thinking of it in my head, because we tell people that all the time. Like, the SOC can really save you, and they're like, but I got endpoint protection. Why, you know what I mean? Like, why do I need the SOC if I have this and I have multi-factor? Can you kind of help me out in my sales process here?
Yeah. So everyone says, I have this tool, I have that
Yeah.
tool, I have this. Yeah. No tool's 100%. We've learned that through the years. And also, a lot of things now make it so a user's more responsible, right? So people are trying to get around these tools by going directly to the user. Social engineering, things like that are more common now. Well, why do I need the SOC? Because they're to detect the things that are outside that process, right? Outside that bubble that, well, if your endpoint tool didn't detect it, multi-factor got, for lack of a better term, hacked or exploited. Or let's just say one of your users just gave out their username and password, right?
Yeah.
And it became worse and worse. As you go on, the SOC is there to protect all of that, right?
Sure.
And sometimes it's a story combining 3 or 4 different tools to help find that. So you can't rely on the one tool. You can't rely on what we call the one-trick pony. You have to have someone to look at all of it at once.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it's always tough to kind of...
It's hard to sell.
It is. It's a little bit tough to explain, because, like, well, I feel like you're just pulling the wool over my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't need this. I don't need that.
it.
Yeah. If you had, like, an unlimited budget for developing a SOC, what would be one of the things that you'd add to it?
That's a good question. Honestly, to me, it's a person. It's
Okay.
people. You better get an analyst in there that is top notch, that you can trust will just blow the socks off of everything out there. And socks.
All right.
Little pun, fun pun. But it is someone who's going to be out there and do that, because as good of a tool is, a person is even better. A lot of people are going to start looking towards that AI model of things, and that'll help. But it'll help find things. You still need that person or a group of people. So if I had unlimited budget, there's actually a few people on the top of my list who would get hired instantly.
Oh, yeah. So it's a people thing. That's
It
good.
is a people thing.
Yeah, that's great to know. It's not like limited resources from, there's these tools out there, but we can't afford them kind of thing. It's like, no, it's just people. We just need more people that are really good in the field. And speaking about people, I think of this SOC thing, and I think of like the Matrix for a second, where I'm just thinking, you know what I mean? Like
Little code going down the
code
screen,
going down,
I'm
like,
in.
Yeah,
The
people
favorites.
People are watching it, and they're, like interpreting it. So there's a lot of unforeseen threats, I would assume. So how do you keep a team kind of motivated when it comes to working in that environment?
Yeah, so there's actually a common thing going on. I was at a conference last year that talked a little bit about this. There's burnout. Burnout in the cybersecurity world is getting worse and worse, just because look at the threats, look at the internet. It's always expanding and evolving. So how do we do that? From a management perspective, I tell people this: let your employees be human.
Yeah.
Right? Your employees are human. You need to hire before it gets bad. Right? You need to cover down before it gets bad. A lot of people go, oh, now we're busy, so let me hire. Well, the hiring process is, anywhere from 2 weeks to a couple months. By the time they get on, everyone's going to be burnt out. So hire before you think you need it. Be ready for that. The other aspect is just give them time and space, right? Don't micromanage. If you micromanage your employee, especially your cybersecurity employee, they're walking. They're going to be mad at you. The other portion is, I always put it this way, it's a very unusual business tactic. I always told my employees, your PTO is yours. Hey, you need to go to an appointment. How long is that? An hour? Just go.
Yeah.
I'll cover down. As a manager, as a director, I cover down for my employees. I'll take that time to do the work for that time so they can go get something done. Don't use your PTO. Hey, it's Friday. I want to go see my friends and I have plans. As long as it's not every Friday or all the time, okay, hey, leave a little bit early and I'll cover that time. Now, people might go, okay, well, what's the point of that? One, they know they can trust me. And two, it lets them know there's this relax. There's this period of time where they don't have to stress and they don't have to go, well, I only have 10 hours of PTO. No, just please take your time. And I've learned that getting your employees, I don't want to say loyalty, but that trust and kind of that friendship from them has led me to have way better interactions with my employees and kind of have that, my former employees I'm still friends with.
Yeah.
Right? We still talk outside of work. And that's something that's more important to me because as a manager, the one key I always give to every manager is your job as a manager is not to say, okay, employee, I need you to sit in that seat and do that job. I've always told my employees the greatest thing I could ever see is one day on LinkedIn or whatever social media network and see that you got that next roll up. You're now a senior analyst. You're now a director yourself. Why? Because that means I did my job.
Yeah.
My job is not to keep you in that seat.
Yeah. There's so many great things in there from like a leadership standpoint.
Yeah.
I think the servant leadership aspect of like, I can do it. There's that balance, right, between like, okay, I'm not enabling my employees to not do their job fully by covering too much or, you know what I mean, like doing half their job for them. But like that goes a long way when you're just like, hey, I got this. You know what I mean? And being human is pretty cool. And there's been, you see those managers are like, if Sally went, like I don't know how we'd make it. She can't leave. It's impossible.
Yep.
How do we get her to stay? It's like, well, Sally's getting a new role.
She's gonna
That's
leave.
Awesome. Yeah. So.
And you see it in the management teams where the manager leaves, and then you have 3 employees who leave, and the company always goes, "Well, why'd that happen?" Because that's who kept everyone together.
Yeah.
It's important.
So, is there any misconceptions about SOCs that are out there?
We're always looking at every piece of data, right? Let's get real. If you're a company, I can't look at your data all the time. We have engines in place to kind of find things and let us look at things. We do review, but there is this constant, well, why didn't you find this? Or why didn't we see this, right? No one's 100%. Nothing's 100%. SOC just increases you by a large fold on getting that data and finding those threats. Nothing's 100%. The SOC, that's a misconception. The SOC will find everything and do everything. They won't find everything, but they're going to find a lot more than anyone else or just the tool itself. So when it comes to the SOC, don't expect it to be someone's always looking at your data 100% of the time. They're looking, they're finding it, they're looking for the threats, but understand there's a lot going on. And what you might think is a threat, which is common, that's one of the most common things as a SOC. This is a threat. Hey, I need your help. It usually becomes not a threat, and it's a smaller issue. While as a SOC, we do love helping with that, right? We see the scams, which aren't threats, they're a scam. We see the scams, and people go, we're under attack, or this person was compromised, and then you look and you go, no, it's a fake email.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay. It's going to be okay. But it's a common misconception. Also, I haven't heard from my SOC, so they're not doing their job.
Oh, yeah.
Please never assume that. If you're not hearing from your SOC team, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
It means they're managing things. But also, let your SOC be transparent with you. If you think they're not doing anything, ask them. They'll show you. It looks like a lot more than you think.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'd like to do that actually with our SOC partners, because the only time we really hear something is when something bad happens, right? And there's so much. I've talked to people in the C-suite and like, I don't know what we're paying these guys for.
Yeah, it's a common question.
Usually not talking about us, talking about a partner that we're hopefully taking over for.
Yes, obviously.
Obviously. But I think that's the lack of communication, right? Is things are happening, but are we going to actually pass that along? So when our SOC lets us know that something occurred and maybe they isolated something and remediated it in real time, and it was at 10 o'clock at night, like we get that notification. We don't have to get the CEO up in the middle of the night, but at 7 o'clock in the morning, we give them a call and say, hey, this is what the SOC found. This is what they did. It's isolated on this computer, and there's that like, okay.
That breath of relief right there. Yeah, it's the common one, right? You hit it. What are we paying this person for, right? I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, if you want to know what they're doing, ask them. Look, they'll show you. It might look crazy to you,
Yeah.
you know, the normal person. It's like, okay, what's going on here? To them, it makes sense, but you know, just ask.
Yeah.
And once again, it's that middle of the night, right? When something happens in the middle of the night and everyone's sleeping, they're not.
Yeah, yeah, and that's nice. I mean, it literally lets people sleep better at night
Yes.
that they know that someone else is watching their stuff. So, if you could go back to, you know, young Austin, not that you're not young now, you know, but you go back to young Austin and give yourself one piece of advice when you're starting out in IT, what would that be?
Breathe. It's breathe, honestly, to me. There's so much thrown at younger, I should say, cybersecurity people. I have a lot of people reach out to me even about cybersecurity now. And when I look back at it, because people go, how did you get into it? How do you get there? And it's stressful, right? How did I get here? Breathe. You got to start in IT, right? You don't get to just start in cybersecurity. You have to start in IT. So look for a networking position, look for a help desk position. And that's what I did. And that's what kind of transitioned me. I started moving towards it. Also, enjoy life. I took it very seriously for a year or so, and I said, okay, I need to back off and start looking at more at like the other aspects. But it is breathe.
Yeah.
It gets easier. It's overwhelming at first. You just got to get in the position, learn, but don't be afraid to take something outside of cybersecurity and then work your way into it. It's a very hard field to get into. So for everyone out there, if you're going into cybersecurity, just take your time and apply. Your number will come.
Yeah, you said it best. It's a high pressure situation. I think especially for students that there's so much pressure. Like 8th grade, we have a career fair when I was a teacher, and 8th graders come up and they're like, they go, what do you want to be? And they go, I want to be an actuary. It's like, no, your mom and dad told you want to be an actuary.
That's what your parents said.
Yeah, that's what your parents said.
I didn't know what an actuary was in 8th grade. Yeah,
exactly. But then you kind of get that pressure of like, oh, okay, you know, we did it in personal finance. Pick a career. Okay, they pick a career. And then how much are you going to make? Oh, this much. Okay, cool. And then they think like, all right, I'm going to get out and I'm going to make $85K a year and I'm going to do this. And it's like, it almost feels like I feel like there might be some sense of failure because nobody really tells them that they have to take a couple steps before they just boop, like, here you go.
Cybersecurity is a very rough one with that too. I always tell people, if you get a 4-year degree in cybersecurity, what you learned year 1 through 3 no longer applies, or it does in little aspects, right? It's always changing. Hence why I actually went to the military, right? I went to the military because I said, you know what? I want to serve my country. I'm 3rd generation Navy, right? So grandfather, my aunt is in the Navy, so I took up the next torch. And I said, I don't really fully know what I want to do. So taking that time, and then I learned I like computers. I was originally in computers going to do networking. And then I took a little bit of time to do cybersecurity and said, oh my gosh, I love this. So take that time, breathe, figure out what you want to do. If you're in cybersecurity and you're like, I don't enjoy this, go somewhere else. But if you like cybersecurity, stick with it and always look for a mentor in cybersecurity. It's not as common in this field, but if you need a mentor, reach out. Someone will help you and someone can help guide you. Cybersecurity is a big field, but almost everyone knows everyone in the field in some way, shape, or form, and they'll help you get somewhere.
That's great advice just in life.
Yes,
get a mentor.
Yes.
Okay, so as we wrap up, is there one threat you see in like cybersecurity that maybe is coming up that businesses aren't ready for?
Yeah, social engineering. It's combined with AI a little bit. I know we all talk about AI, but I would have to go with social engineering, and we call it people hacking, right? I was at a convention last year. Once again, it's called DEF CON, and at this convention, they had someone sit in a booth, and they called a well-known company. I won't tell the company for their sake. And acted like, hey, I'm getting hired this week and I need help with all this thing. Through the receptionist alone, they got the Wi-Fi name, Wi-Fi password, how the badge system to get into the building worked. And this is a large company, and this was their headquarters. And they got tons of information on a 20-minute call, just acting like they knew something. hacking people is becoming bigger. And there's one point that's not made in cybersecurity. I do cybersecurity awareness trainings, and this is something that I have now brought to light. You don't hear it, but I want to bring it to light now. Personal hacks become business hacks. Someone hacks your Facebook. If you use the same password for your Facebook as you do for your work account, it will turn into a work hack. Your personal accounts and your work accounts have to have different passwords. Protect your personal accounts, but your personal life can affect your business life from a cybersecurity standpoint. If someone hacks your personal accounts, they're going to go after your business account.
I feel like this is a whole nother topic that we could have another episode on. I've been approached by companies that wipe, not wipe, but essentially go and search for all personal data of your employees and family members as well, and then on your behalf go and request to remove that information. You know what I mean? To just get more off there. And I'm like, is this necessary? And then you hear more and more about this, and it's like, yes, it is.
That's
necessary.
how you can get into a business now easier than the current hacking networks method. You actually get in through people. Yeah. And that personal account thing, especially with smart technology in homes, right? We call it the Internet of Things. Roombas, your smart lights, all of this stuff that's smart technology, it's a way in. And please be aware that your personal life, have MFA on everything, that multi-factor authentication on all your devices and accounts. But please be aware that your personal accounts, even passwords, usernames, let me guess, you probably use the same password for the password you use for your office account or to get into your systems at work. If you use that same password, I guarantee you, as a cybersecurity person, if I found that on your Facebook, I'm definitely going to your company and using it.
Yeah. Well, now, after this, I'm going to go check my Roomba password.
Good idea.
Yeah. But no, this is awesome conversation,
Thank
Austin.
you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I feel like you shed a lot of light on not just what a SOC is, but also a great philosophy on how to manage teams and build something from the ground up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun, and I really want people to learn something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for watching IT Unplugged. Really appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. We're dropping episodes every single week. If you need anything IT cybersecurity related, make sure you reach out to M2 Technology. We are here to help.